Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone for joining today. And today's topic on the webinar is bracket placement. What you're seeing right now is the main page of OrthoAnalyzer. So this is the main page, and what you can see is is uh, is the couple of tools on the left side and some of the tools as well on the right side. Okay, so this software not only does bracket placement, but it does various things as well. So I'm just going to give you an overview of what the software does basing on the icons on the left side. Okay, so input options. So not only you can bring in the 3D scans, but also the CT scans. As long as it is a DICOM file format of the CBCT scan, you can always bring it in. Okay, and then the second one is the model alignment. Again, once you bring in the CT scan, you have an option to align them, right? So it's really helpful, especially if you're trying to do some treatment plan. You can align the long axis of the root, the apex, and many more. So you have a good guide or basis to have an accurate treatment. Okay, preparation is where you segment the tooth, meaning like you divide each tooth and calculate the width. So we'll go through that part later on. And then the analysis parts is like be able to do the arch analysis, overjet, overbite, and some calculations like Bolton analysis, Corkhouse, space analysis as well. And you can print out the report as well. So just to an overview, everything that you've done in in this software is documented by the software, which means by the end of everything that you've done, it will generate a report. Though it's only like the analysis, the treatment plan, everything will be documented. And then the last one is the treatment. Okay, so we have two types of treatments. Look, one is the virtual setup, and the one we're going to talk about is the bracket placement. All right, and we keep on improving the software for the better user experience. Like now we made all the tools on the left side and the right side like smaller, so you have a lot of room to work with the model in the middle. Okay, so what you see in the middle is a trio scan. That's why you can see a true color. All right, you can see some artifacts as well. So this is the advantage of scanning from trios as well. But also it can bring in an STL file of some kind of from a different scanners as well. All right, and just to give you an overview, these scans I've done the pre-design, so I'm just going to walk you through the process. And also, if you notice, I put a base on it. Okay, so let me just turn off the color because you can do that as well. Right, so there you go. So there's two types of, I know it's kind of, it looks ugly, right? So on the top, like it just want to show you that you can do a full base, right? If you want to do that, or the lower, which I did, is a horseshoe. So if you have your own printer and you want to save time and material to print it out, then you can just do a horseshoe, and also you can fit more models that way if you want to print a lot of models at the same time. All right. Okay. So let's go into the virtual bracket placement. Oops. Let me just back up a little bit. Okay. So we as soon as you get into the workflow that you want to do, we have a set of workflow in the middle. So I just want to make sure you guys see that because I just had it wrong a while ago. All right. So you guys can see the workflow on top. So this is to help you guys the users not to get lost. All right. It highlights the current step that you're in, and then on the left side is kind of like the steps or instructions on what to do on that step. Okay. If you can see on the left side, on the bracket placement, it asks you where you want to place the brackets. You have an option on the upper only, the lower only, or both jaws. So if I click on both jaws, it changes the workflow in the middle. Okay, so basically the workflow is based on how you do the steps. All right, so for this, and then also if you want to do both jaws, you have an option if you want to do the lower first or the upper first. So so the good thing about this software is it customizes to the way you want to do your workflow. Okay, so it's like you don't have to follow what the software tells you. You can change that, configure that later on. All right, so for this, for demo purposes, I'm just going to do the upper for now. All right, so that's established. We want to do the upper. Click next. And the next step is setting up the occlusion plane. As you notice, I have the occlusion plane already. So all I did is put 3 points. One on each tooth, which is the sixes and the midline. Okay, and then you can also see that the teeth is protruding to the occlusion plane, so you know, right? So it helps you to view that better as well. Okay, just to give you a heads up, like if ever you're trying to do a case and only you were doing beforehand just the analysis, right? Some steps were already done, so that's why the occlusion plane could be done already before. Okay, and then the patient wants to proceed that to do the indirect bonding. So once you bring in the case again on this workflow, it will carry over whatever you've done. You don't have to repeat what you've done before. Okay, the only thing that you have to do is whatever is not included before that is part of this workflow. Once we establish that, click next, and we have the standard planes as well. Okay, so this is just to orient everything good, right? So we can adjust that. I can adjust the rotation, right? But we have an automatic tools on the left side if you want to align the sagittal plane on the occlusion plane. So we want everything like perpendicular to everything like accurate and be able to do the treatment in more fashion way. Okay, next. There you go. So I've done the segmentation, so I'm just going to walk you through what I did. Right, so we go back to set points. All right, let me turn off the color so you can see it better. Okay, so what I did is identify first on the left side, you have an overview window. So all you have to do is right click and identify the missing teeth. So in this case, I don't have the wisdom teeth or the upper eights. Okay, so all I did is like right click and declare that missing. So just to what this segmentation does is not only measuring the width of each tooth, it does calculations of the analysis. Okay, and also the software knows only once we bring in the scans beforehand, it only knows 2 scans, upper and the lower. So what segmentation does, it separates each tooth so that later on we can move it individually, and also it knows now like with this where's the central, the lateral, cuspid, bicuspid, second bicuspid, and so on and so forth. Okay, so after we have identified the missing tooth, all I did is put points on the distal and mesial points. You can see right here, I put a point on the widest part of the molar on the distal and the widest part on the mesial as well. All I had to do is go around the arch until I get to the end. Okay, so I'm going to say this is the most crucial part, because in order to have an accurate treatment analysis, you want to be able to make sure take time and everything is on point. Okay, and then after that, we click next, and the software now starts to calculate measuring each tooth. So it gives you the status on the lower left hand of it. And then after it calculates it, it also captures the gingival line, right? So later on, it knows where the gums and the teeth are. So when we're moving it, it gives you an accurate movement as well. All we have to do is check around the arch, making sure everything's captured well. So pretty much, if you put the right points accurately, it will have no problem determining where the gingival line is. Right, click next. Then we have the sculpt tool. The sculpt tool is to be able to clean up the model a little bit. Okay, so if there's like a lot of artifacts or spit bubbles that was captured during the scanning part of it, you can clean it up and smoothen it out if needed. Okay, but other than that, you don't have to. If nothing needs to be changed, you can skip and click next. All right, yes. Okay. All right, so after everything is done, it also calculates, the good thing about this, it calculates the FA points. Okay, so with now it knows the center, all right, the intersection. So ideally, the placement of the brackets or the arch wires will be determined in the FA points to start up with. It's like to give you a head start so you don't have to do everything, adjust everything from malocclusion. All right. And we can also also if you have the CBCT scan, right? So I can now it's separated. I can on the sliders on the right side, I can remove some of it. So I want to remove the gums. If some of the technicians are just used to seeing the teeth, right? So people been using CAD CAM before, so it gives you that an option as well if you don't want to see the gums. All right. So on this part that the rotation center is if you have the CT scan, right? This is now the perfect time to align the roots, right? Change the height to the apex, right? So the rotation center is has a big contribution as well to have the accurate treatment, right? So the more calculations as I move the arrow, you can see on the three windows below that it changes the angulations in degrees. Okay, but once everything is done, we just have to go around making sure everything's fine. We have to validate it, lock the FA points. It turns green. That means we can proceed to the next step. So there's a lot of steps that it will not let you proceed until you lock it down. All right. So now on this step, it gives us two windows. On the left side is the pre-treatment or the malocclusion, and then on the right side is the movements as we do something with the case. All right, so now we are trying to determine the arch wire plane, where the arch wire will be placed once we choose it later on. Okay, so let me just turn on the gums once again. All right, so on the left side, if I change the angle of it, all right, so automatically on the right side, it changes it real time. Okay, so we have an options to set it by FA points. And let me just clear out another thing that we can do. Let me just zoom it in. If I draw a line in the middle, right? If I want my arch wire over there, you can do it manually. Another way is putting points on the molar, central, and on the other molar as well. And then this is where the plane is being drawn. And if you think that you think the software can do it better for you, then just set it by FA points by default. Okay, so it gives you a lot of tools to play around or to use whatever you prefer. Okay, after that, click next, and this is now the arch wire that I have in my library. Okay, so there's going to be more. These wires are downloaded from the download center. Again, like I said, this software is meant to be customized according to your workflow, to your needs. So it comes with a control panel. So let me just jump in to do that quickly, just to give you an overview as well. So we have a download center on the right side. If you can see my cursor in the circle, click that and refresh on the bottom left. So now it will give me a list of arch wires that I can download. Okay, so everything on the right side that it says status up to date, that means I have it downloaded. If it says not downloaded, then that is an option for me to download. Okay, and then off the left side, it tells you the manufacturer, the type, if it is a bracket library or arch wire. So let me talk about the brackets as well, the library. So if you have a bracket library that you want to import on the system, unfortunately you can't do it today, right? So we want to keep everything accurate. So we are promoting fully digital workflow from start to finish. So if we have something that is not accurate enough, that was not validated, then it might throw us off in the end. Okay, so what we did is we chased down, we asked the manufacturers to get the files from them directly. Okay, so everything, all the brackets, the arch wires came from them. Okay, and then we put it in our system, right? So with that, you can't really put any of your files in there to avoid problems. Okay, so in case there is a brackets that you don't see in the library and that you're using, then you can contact us and we will reach out to the manufacturer to have it available in our library. Okay. By the way, the questions will be I'll go through it later on towards the end of the presentation, so it won't throw me off. But you can feel free to type in there, and we'll go through it one by one. Okay, so they should have a line that you can type it in. Okay, all right, going back right here, and then also, okay, so let's just gonna go back to the control panel as needed. Okay, all right, so let me go back to Ortho Analyzer where we do the bracket placement. All right, if I change the view to the occlusion, right? So so where the bracket is, I mean the arch wire is, it will give me right away on the right side an ideal or a draft setup. Okay, so if I choose a different wire from the left side, then it gives me a different proposal. Now, if I want to adjust the wire, right? So if I adjust it on the left side, you'll see on the right side how it's gonna look like. All right, so I'm just gonna show you like how it's gonna look like if I do it too much. So I want to bring it back a little bit right here. Okay, so just to let you know, like we're not even on the bracket parts, and it's giving me starting to build up that proposal already. Okay, so to give you an idea. All right, so let's say we're happy with the placement right here. Don't worry about it. You see some spaces, you see some contacts protruding to one another. We will fix that later on. Okay, so let's just proceed to the next. And this is now the time we can choose the library. All right, on the left side, we have a drop-down menu where you can choose whatever library you want. Okay, so for now, like again, the library is free. You can download whatever you want, but like as much as possible, just download whatever you use, so it's not gonna be overwhelming on the software. But if you want to try some, you can do that as well. So for now, I'm just gonna use the Forestadent BioQuick. There you go. Let me zoom it out. All right. So when we were putting the arch wire, it gives us an ideal arch of the teeth. Okay. And then now once we choose the library from the drop down, now it adjusts according to the tip, the angulation, the torque as well. All right. And then the question is if like can we mix up some libraries? Let's say I'm using a different tubes, a different bicuspid, or the patient wants a clear brackets on cuspid to cuspid. Yes, you can do that. You can highlight the tooth that you want to change, and from the drop down over here, choose the bracket that you want to switch it with. Okay, and then once you customize that, you have an option to save it. So in case you want to use it again, you don't have to do it from scratch. So you can save as many customized bracket system as much as possible. So it gives you all this freedom to play around with the software. All right. So once we choose that, then we have an option now. Okay. All right. So before we proceed, we also have a on the left side, it's called the bracket prescriptions. So right. So I have one, which is the bracket height. So let me go back to the control panel and see what it does. If I go to bracket prescription, so I have an option to add my preferences. All right. So if I'm using some preferences that I kind of use all the time, then I can type in right here. So for example, I want this one's like makes the height like kind of like all on the same level, the central, lateral, and the cuspid as well. So I give this I put all this information right here in millimeters. All right. So later on, if I want to use this preference, I can just bring it in and forces the setup to follow this prescription that I did. Okay. Okay, let's go back to bracket placement. All right, so two windows, right? So on the left side again is with the brackets and the malocclusion. On the right side is the proposed setup. Okay, so I can double click, I can go next. And then now I can adjust. All right, so for now, you see on the right side we have some spaces, right, in between teeth. So on the left side, I have a tool that says distribute teeth evenly. Okay, all I have to do is click that one, and the software will fix it for me. Okay, and now what it does is it locks the position of the molar where it's at, and then it will distribute now the spaces in between the teeth from bicuspid to bicuspid. Okay. I can also perform a collision detection if I want to see the collisions that's going on. There's going to be a lot. All right, there you go. All right, so on the right side, it tells you everything. All right, so where the tooth that is active, let me just zoom it in on the right side, on the upper right one. It's telling me that I am colliding with the upper right two for about 11 millimeters. Right, so if I need to, if I don't want to do an extraction case, then I have a tool over here on the left side that will let me do a interproximal reduction, or IPR. All right, so now I have an option where if I want to do an IPR on the central or lateral or both, you can do that. We kind of like divide the value. So 0.11 divided by 2 from, you can separate that IPR on both teeth, right? So let's just say on the central, on the left side, you have an option. Where do you want to strip it? On the mesial or distal? So let's do the distal. Wait a second. All right. Okay. Oops. Why is this not? Give me a second. There you go. All right. So I want to strip it to 0.11 for now on the distal. So on the distal, I'm just gonna put 0.11. You might not see a lot because it's just really tiny. Apply. There you go. Okay, so it seems like I need more. So, but you get the concept, right? So it gives you the value, and then use that as well, and then it gives you the collision as well on the antagonist or the lower arch as well. So as you adjust it, it will show you like what's going on, right? So it gives you the references on how much movement you need to do. All right. So another thing we can do is double click on the tooth. All right. Right on the left side, I can adjust the position of the bracket, okay, along the wire, okay. But I can move it freely if I want to. So all I have to do is go on the left side, and if gives me the option to move it anywhere I want, right? If I want to go closer to the incisal edge, I can do that, right? So as I do that on the right side, it tells me the result, like how it's gonna look like if the placement is on that position, right? So it's kind of, if you want to extrude it, then bring up the bracket close to the gingival line. All right. All right. Okay. All right. So once we've positioned all the brackets, okay, so we're happy with everything, and then let's say you want to be able to um, bring the tooth forward. All right. So normally it will not let you because physically you have to bend the wire. All right. So virtually it will not show you how to bend a wire, or it will it let you bend the wire. It's not going to do that. So we have an option on the left side to allow wire bending. So what it does is, let me see this one. Okay, so what it does now is, like, once I click on the allow wire bending, then it allows me to move forward the upper right too if I want to, right? And as I move that, right, it gives me like the bracket position is locked and the wire is being bent to accommodate further tooth movements. So I can move it forward to where I want to, but on the left side it turns red, so it's like a tension. So meaning that area you need to bend that physically once you have once the brackets are bonded in the patient's teeth. All right. Another thing we can do is disable auto snap. So let's just use the operator for now. So by default, the software places the brackets on the buccal part of the teeth. What option we can do now is, like, we can adjust that, move it forward. All right. So if you want more composite, all right, then you have that ability to be able to uh, get an accurate result. So it gives you that option as well. Right. So if not, you can just bring it back to the way it was. All right. So it gives you that a lot of options. All right. Moving on. After everything is done, right? So at the same time, while I'm moving it on the windows below, it shows you the angulation, so it helps you better position it if you need some guidance. All right. So if you want to see some of the the values as well. After everything is done, click next. And all right, so we were now, okay, so again, I forgot to lock. So again, it's really important to validate everything. So once I validated it, it gave me this error. One or more brackets cannot be validated. Wire bending is disabled. Problems have arisen with brackets for teeth number 12. Okay, so all I have to do is enable that, meaning that I'm okay with that. All right, and then validate again. Now let me validate everything, then I can proceed to the next step, which is again validation. So before it gives me an output of file, I will have to validate that. Okay, and one thing that we can see is the prescription table, all the movements, the positions, the inclination, the torques. It gives you that report. So this is something that you can print out later on or save it as a PDF, Word file for filing. Okay, and then once everything's done, validate. And now, so once it's validated, you can't go back and adjust it. So all you can do is, like, let's say you validated it, and then you see like, oh, I could have moved these brackets a little bit towards the gingiva. So now it's validated. I can't. So all you can do is now is like just make a copy of the case, and it will open up another case number, and you can manipulate it again. So you don't have to do it from scratch again. All right, so this is just for HIPAA compliance. So because once it's secured, as much as possible, you don't want to touch it again. So if in case you need to do some changes, copy, and it will generate another order. All right, so what happens next after this? Okay, so we go to the bracket transfer. So this module is the bracket placement, right? You have an option to, let's say for example, you don't have the tools, you don't have the equipments to generate or fabricate the models, the trays, right? So you don't have the suck down machine, you don't have a printer to print out the model, then you can send this case, your designed case, to the lab. Okay, so it gives you that option. So from them, so they can receive it and do the trace for you. Okay, but if you have your own printer, your suck down machine, and you have all the capabilities, then I don't see the reason why you don't have this option as well. So it's called the bracket transfer. So that's an added module, right? So we kind of like divided the software according to your needs, right? So if you're not doing indirect bonding and you're only doing analysis, so you don't need a bracket placement, right? So and then later on you want to get into the indirect bonding process, then you can add that later on. And then if you don't have the equipments, then you don't need the bracket transfer. And then later on you acquire your own printer and some equipments, then you can always add that. So it's kind of like we want to be able to for you to utilize the software. So we don't want to throw you in something that you're not going to utilize anyway. So, but the good thing about it is you can always add later on. All right, so once we're done, I'm just going to minimize this and go to bracket transfer. So let me just go back over here, all right? So first thing that it does, so again, I kind of like did it already, so because it takes a while to post-process it, okay? So first thing it does is bring in the brackets and this one. Let me do it one by one. All right, here we go. All right, so first thing it does once I bring it in, so a couple of things. There's three types of how you want the indirect bonding trace. Okay, if you don't have a printer but you have a suck down machine, right? So I mean, okay, let's take it back a little bit. Let's say you have a printer, so you can print out the model, but you don't have a material for indirect bonding, but you have a suck down machine. Then you can print out the model and then do the trace by the Terraform. Right, so one option is print out the model. So what the software does is it carries over the positions from where we did the placement. Okay, and then the first thing it does, it covers or the undercuts. Right, if you notice the hooks are flushed all the way to the buckle of the tooth. So normally, if you guys are familiar, right? So conventionally, before you fabricate the tray, you have to seal that undercuts, or else the plastic will be formed underneath, right? So we use some alginate um, or a putty in some cases, right? So, but in this case, the software will cover it up for you, right? So everything with a hook or everything that has undercuts, the software will protect that. Okay, and then the next step is the creating the shell. Okay, all right. So if ever you have a printer that has that has the material for indirect bonding tray, then you don't need to print out the model, because you can do the trays virtually and print that out directly. Okay, so what I did over here is kind of like I just um, I just went through, right? So kind of like there's a splines around it. So if you can see the lines around it. So since the software covers the undercut, so I don't really have to worry about if the tray is all the way close to the gingiva, right? To the marginal line, or right before the undercuts of the bracket. So it gives you that freedom as well. Okay, so once I fabricate that, so on the left side we have settings depending on what printer you have. Again, this is just for printers that has the material to be able to fabricate the indirect bonding tray. Okay, so you can adjust the thickness. So depending on the manufacturer's um, limitation, so you can adjust it there. All right, so let's just skip it to 1.7. Right, so once I finish the whole spline all around, so kind of like I'm dictating the software how I want the software to build up my tray. Okay, so you have an option to one full arch, quadrant, or three parts. It's all up to you. Okay, so after that, I'm just gonna turn it on since I've done it before, and delete this one. Right, so this is how it's gonna look like. Right, so if I can see, so this is now a container, right? So all you have to do once you print out the trays, all you have to do is put in the brackets. Right, so you don't have to worry about the undercuts, especially on the molar side. All you have to it's wide open, so all you have to do is snap in there, put the composite, and bond it to the patient's mouth. Right, so that's one thing. So I've shown you two types. Be able to print out the model where the placement of the brackets are, and the second one, if you have the right material for the printer, you can print out the trays directly without printing out the model. So that saves you a lot of time and material. The third one is called the marker. Okay, so I don't have it here. I'm just gonna open there you go. There you go. So what it does is when you are starting to fabricate, like it gives you an option. The first option is be able to print out the model with the silhouette of the brackets. So with that, you can fabricate the tray and then just put in the brackets on the tray. But this one, it allows you to print out the model with the markers, meaning the border. So once you print out this model, then you can bond the brackets on the model. Let me see if I can get a picture of it. There you go. Right. So this is the purpose of it. Once you print out the model, then you can bond the brackets inside the markers. Right. So the markers are really tight. There's no space for you to move it, so it's really accurate. It's really tight, and it has those holes in on the side, so in case like the flushes for the extra composite to be able to get out. Right. So if you want like that option, print out the marker, and then before fabricating the tray, you want to bond it. So by the time you take out the tray, the brackets are there already. So it's another option. So it depends on your preference. So there's three kinds of output, right? So again, this one is the marker. The second one is this one, directly printing out the aligner. I mean the tray, and just place the brackets afterwards. And one thing that you can also do, look at this. If you look at closely on the towards the buckle or the incisal edge, is a thin line. So if you have a soft tray using a BioStar suck down machine, right? So those Essex trays are very flexible. But if you are using a printed material, then it's not as flexible as those Essex tray. So what we've done is be able to have a thin material where you can fold it after you've bonded, so the brackets will not fall off or come with the tray. So it gives you that flexibility. So that's another feature that we have in the system. Okay. So on this case, it's just let me see how it looks like. There you go. So this is the first option, second option, and the third option, right? So it gives you that idea. All right. So basically, I've shown you the workflow for the indirect bonding, right? So again, once you place the brackets, you have an option to send it to the lab if you don't have the equipment, or if you have, then you're gonna have the bracket transfer as well to complete the workflow. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, let me see. Let me just open the questions. I think I have. All right, so Damon 3 MX is available in 3Shape. Yes, all kinds of Damon 3, Damon MX, Damon Q, Damon Clear will be there. And how do we allow for custom bases? All right, so once you have the software, the bracket placement, it will allow you to create your own base. Okay. All right. All right. So the session is recorded. So in case you need to reach out and send you guys a copy of the session, we can send it to you at so the email address is us.ortho@3shape.com. So just tell us what you need. So in case you can't think of something right now to ask, and then later on you thought of something, then you can reach out to us with that email again, us.ortho@3shape.com. Okay, so let me just stand by a little bit in case somebody asks another question. Okay, again, thank you for joining me today for the webinar. And just a heads up, we will have another session. That's something about the workflow, could be more into the ortho software or indirect bonding. So we'll keep you guys updated and what's going on, what's new. So keep in touch. All right. Okay. So far, there's no more questions. So again, thank you so much. Feel free to reach out to the email that I provided, which is us.ortho@3shape.com, and feel free to email us. Thank you so much, and have a good weekend.